Hey guys, Veebat here with another V-Plays, taking a look at the Hawker Hunter at Tier 10, the new British multi-role aircraft, and as you can see this thing is absolutely armed to the teeth with rockets and bombs. There are a total of 32 rockets on this aircraft, albeit that they have lower damage output per rocket, but you're looking at 4 volley launch for each one of these, so you're going to get a total of 8 launches. In addition to that, and probably the most significant thing, is that this aircraft is equipped with 4 30mm Aiden cannons, so this is the same armament that you'd see on the Javelin, but instead of being mounted on the wings, is mounted on the nose. I now argue as to whether or not my Javelin is even viable, albeit I will say that this does not have the same altitude performance that you would see on an aircraft such as that, so these guns do take some time to get used to after flying with the 20s for a while. They do require a lot of lead and being very intentional in the shot grouping. You'll note that there's 2 humps on the front of the aircraft underneath the guns. That's because they discovered the links for the 30mm Aidens were so large that they actually caused damage to the aircraft and the air brake when they came out of the airframe, so they actually had to put those on there in order to stop the munitions, or stop those links from damaging the aircraft. Whoop. Let's go ahead and try some rockets here. Fairly effective for what they were meant to do. Still getting chased. Should probably just get some distance and come back at this target. The same issues that you saw with the predecessors are the same issues you're going to see here, that you need to be able to plan your attacks appropriately because the maneuverability is lackluster. It's sad that I apparently lost a teammate here. Let's go ahead and dispense the ordnance here. Hopefully this will flip the zone. Not quite. It's a sad state of affairs right now. We are playing early in the morning, so it's just me and one other player on the enemy team. And that was a sad attempt to shoot down this Spitfire. There we go. Finally, guys. Now it's time to head over and start doing what we should be doing in this airframe, which is stopping ground attackers. The 30mm Aidens and the ability to zip over to one of these target areas is going to be paramount for our capabilities. Having 30s really allows you to be able to put the damage out there. It's very disappointing that my ground attackers apparently are very poor, even if they are bots. Really don't want to lose this zone. Wanted to have a good battle for y'all to showcase this airframe. Let's get a little bit aggressive here. It looks like we managed to take one of these aircraft out, which allowed us to... There we go. Lost the wing. We didn't take an aircraft out, we just managed to capture part of the zone, so that's good. But you can see the 30mm Aidens are doing the work here necessary to try and keep these ground attackers from causing too much hate. Fly this thing like a heavy at these lower altitudes. Here's the player in the F6U.
Attention all fighters. Enemy
Bombs hit the target.
Destroy them.
Got that aircraft. Cool. This puts us in a much better position. Glad we were able to make it over here so quickly, but that's what this aircraft was. It was an intercept platform, albeit even the crews complained that its altitude performance was pretty lacking, so this is a very accurate representation of what the crews described as the aircraft's limitations as well. But that also makes sense in game because it's a multi-role. See, there's that air brake I talked about, getting hit by the shells. It would have slipped out right into the stream where the links would have been dropping. I keep saying shells, but they actually said it was the linkages between the shells. Let's not get distracted. We thought about going after those fighters, but what we really need to do is retain this site. A solid attack run on that aircraft, we can come back around and try it again. This is going to be the exact opposite problem we saw with the F-84F, where the F-84F's 50 cal machine guns just did not have the oomph needed to take out targets we were going after. Unless, of course, you launch a rocket at the ground in its path. Yep, single run kill on that ground attacker. And the bombers are doing their work. Man, you are chewed up. What a poor aircraft. Thing's getting wrecked. Now they say that the altitude performance isn't stellar, but let's go ahead and get up to a higher altitude and see how she does. It's not going to be great, but it does have quite a bit of engine power to spare, so here we are at around 8,000 feet, and we're still going at about 300 miles an hour. Usually the problem when you get up to higher altitudes, if you try to do an up and over turn, you're going to find yourself getting to stall speeds, and yeah, we get a little close there, but not too shabby. We are building that speed back up.
You'll soon be cut off from support. I say again, support will not be available.
Did I hit him? Yeah, I think I did. If you wanted to go with rocketeer in this aircraft, I think that would be totally viable based on the amount of rockets that you can dispense, so you have a much higher chance of hitting. And the damage output on these is reasonable. It's not spectacular, but considering you're going for volume of fire opposed to overall damage output, we'll do a quick comparison when we get back to the hangar.
Way to go! Victory
If you wanted to forego all the munitions, you easily could. This is only my third battle on the aircraft. The first battle was completely dry. I actually didn't even have enough money to put the guns on this aircraft. Or the ordnance, rather, not the guns. Alright, let's not get into a bit of a furball now. Let's just focus on knocking out this ground attacker. He's already hurt, that's easy. Got a heavy inbound. Looks like he's breaking off. Nope. 30mm cannons, more than enough to deal with this guy.
Great job today.
But I guess that's pretty much it. So, you know, granted this is early morning, we don't have a lot of players out here, but when it comes to doing the job of trying to flip a zone, killing aircraft over the zone, it's fairly effective. The major limitation is still going to be the maneuverability. We'll show you in the hangar that the turn time is going to be quite high, but the 30mm cannons, if you can get them to if you can get them to land on the target properly, you're going to see a very strong impact off of these shells. Just because you're essentially flying with a Tier 10 heavy weaponry on this aircraft. We did manage to take out 11 targets. We managed to capture 2 sectors and damaged aerial targets 12,697 because we were going after primarily ground targets, so that really helped us out. And since this aircraft benefits from defending a zone, this is a great aircraft for doing exactly what we did. Going to the most important and valuable site, helping to flip that site, and then you can defend that site if need be, or if you want to move on and go after another site, you easily could with the high speed of this airframe. So let's take a look at that real quick. Thing will cruise at about 329 with all this ordnance on board. If we were to strip this thing down, you're going to see that the aircraft actually has a much higher standing speed of 346 and can boost up to 620 miles an hour. quick comparison over to the F7U, you're not going to be as fast, but your cruise speed is going to be higher. And he actually has a much higher boost speed, so you're going to see that this airframe right here is a very strong contender for being able to catch up to that F7U and kind of give him a run for his money, as we saw earlier. The maneuverability, 12.1 seconds. I'm going to compare it again to the F7U with a 13.3. So he may be a little bit faster, but he's less maneuverable. Yeah, he carries some air-to-ground ordnance, but we as well will be able to carry these 500-pound bombs and these very versatile rockets, because you can use them against ground targets or you can use them against aerial targets. So that's a nice thing to have. And since it is a multi-role, it's fairly survivable with over 500 hit points. Yes, this is the skill set I'm sporting. I actually moved the Seahawks 9-point pilot over to here. We have gone for firefighting. We tried to maximize aerobatic expert as well as aerodynamic expert and engine guru 1, and of course demolition expert, but I'm really contemplating taking the aerobatics off and putting on rocketeer. I think that that would make more sense based on the versatility of these rockets. There's just look at this thing. Does this not look like an early stage of what you would use as an air-to-air rocket platform? And you can use them against ground targets just as effectively, because they're actually built for armored ground targets. So if you need to finish flipping a zone, you can. And 30mm cannons are going to be effective as well. I will answer domain in just a second. But yeah, it's a great platform. I really enjoyed it. It's more of what we were expecting and a lot of what I was hoping for, because these 30mm Aidens are just monstrous, because they're going to be the same thing that you're going to find on the Javelin, just centerline mounted. So exact same guns, but you're going to be much more accurate, because look how far spaced out these Javelins are. They're way out on the extreme edges of these wings. So you're going to be much more effective, I think, with the Hunter. And with the ability for this airframe to boost up to 602 even with these rockets on board, awesome. It really is an interceptor, and it's a lot of fun to fly. So if you guys are working on your Seahawk trying to get this airframe, you have a lot to look forward to. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Hope you enjoyed the video, and apologize, I'm doing this at 6:26 in the morning and just trying to pump out a video. So I'll hopefully have another more refined version of this review later on.